It's day 5 and the Tour de Suisse reaches the halfway stage. Portuguese rider Rui Costa wears the yellow jersey for a third day as the race again faces rain and the climbs of the Jura Mountains. It's next. Hello and welcome back to our coverage of the Tour de Suisse. This is the Epic Cycle Series presented by Michelob Ultra, and still the clouds are over Switzerland and the rain is still coming down. This is the 5th stage of racing, 120 miles today. Onwards we go now towards Gansingen. I'm Phil Liggett, alongside me is Bob Roll. Bob, 2 straight stage wins in a row for Peter Sagan in the sprint. Today, the answer may lie in a breakaway that's already the best part of 10 minutes clear, and we're not far from the finish.
Well, Peter Sagan, unbeatable in the sprints in the last 2 stage races he's done. So the peloton's challenge is to get a breakaway that breaks the stranglehold Movistar has had on the chasing throughout the Tour de Suisse so far. Well,
the leader here, Rui Costa, is still safely in the main pack, and so are all of his rivals as they started today. Frank Schleck 8 seconds back, Kreuziger, Pinot and Nicholas Roche looking for 21 seconds. They're all locked together in the main field. This is the route, Bob, but it's fairly hilly.
Fairly hilly out on the race course. Lots of twists and turns. There's 6 Category 3 climbs on the race route before we get to Gansingen for the finishing town. There is a big circuit around Gansingen. We'll pass through there twice. These are where all the climbs are. Right there, the last 3 Category 3, Olten-Trimbach, and then Bozen, and then Gansingen for the finishing town.
Well, this is the breakaway. Now, they got away today, 5 miles in, a number of attacks, forming 7 riders in the lead. Daniel Oss, Carsten Kruen, Salvatore Puccio, Klaus Lodewyk, Ruben Perez, Sebastian Minard and Vladimir Ishachev. Ishachev was the last one to get up. Now, the best placed rider in this breakaway, Bob, is Puccio. He's 13 minutes, and there he is, number 35. 13 minutes and 12 seconds behind the lead. This is the perfect scenario for a successful day out, isn't it?
Well, yesterday in the breakaway, Dario Cataldo started the stage only 1 minute and 15 seconds behind the race leader, Rui Costa. That's much different on today's stage. Like you said, Puccio, 13+ minutes behind. So the Movistar team of the race leader, Rui Costa, can give the breakaway a lot more leeway. Pretty desperate chase yesterday for Movistar yesterday. So you could be imagining they had some very, very tired legs on that squad. They're probably happy to have this breakaway with such a big advantage. They don't want to let it get over 10 minutes, but around this gap is pretty good. So who's going to chase? Maybe the team of Peter Sagan, but they have a man in the breakaway in the green and blue, and that's Daniel Oss. So Liquigas, again, racing very well tactically, but I think the peloton content to let this breakaway contest the stage win.
Now, 20 miles out to go. The majority of the climbs are behind them. There's only 1 climb left to come. And if Ishachev can win the climb that remains, and that comes just 9 miles from the finish, then he will take the lead by a single point in the King of the Mountains competition, away from Frank Schleck. Now, this is the sprint here. It's the first sprint of the day. Small point, small time bonus. Irrelevant, really. Carsten Kruen going through because he was on the front. Ruben Perez behind him and Daniel Oss there in 3rd place. 9:51 the gap. Well, I've asked you 2 days running, is the breakaway going to succeed, Bob? I'm not going to ask you that today because I think it is.
We're in agreement there. Carsten Kruen, confirmation, getting those points and a little bit of a time bonus. That won't matter. We agree because this breakaway has the perfect complement of riders compared to the aspirations of the peloton. Some of the top teams and best racers represented in the breakaway for their respective teams. This is the team of the race leader, Rui Costa, the Movistar squad. They can afford to give 13 minutes to the highest placed rider in the breakaway. That's Salvatore Puccio of the Sky team. And so the chances of the breakaway staying away on today's stage are pretty good. And now we're like 20 miles from the finish line, and they have almost a 10-minute lead. Even if the peloton wanted to catch them, they would still be able to stay away.
So this looks like the answer to the sprinting of Peter Sagan today. Salvatore Puccio, by the way, first-year professional. He's only 22 years of age in that breakaway. Finished 11th in the recent Tour of Luxembourg and is settling down nicely as a first-year pro on Team Sky. This is a good day out now for Movistar. They know their leader is being nicely protected in the main field. He'll keep his 8 seconds over Frank Schleck. All the prizes of the day are being swept up. And I don't know what's happened to Switzerland this summer, but we don't normally see rain through the lenses of our cameras day in and day out.
Well, Fabian Cancellara, the big star of Swiss cycling, tweeted this morning that blue skies are predicted for the rest of the conditions. He did say the sun was going to come out when they went through his hometown near Bern a couple of days ago. He was right, but that's about the only time the sun has shone since the stage #1 time trial to open up the Tour Switzerland.
Well, there's a flat tyre down there, and that is Française de Jeu. That's Thibaut Pinot down there. He's taking a front wheel. That should be a quick one. He's lying 4th overall in the race. 19 seconds off yellow, so he's well placed. The last 3 days are crucial in this year's Tour de Suisse, with the time trial and the high mountains coming, taking us through to the finish. A teammate waiting for him. So it was a fast change and routine here. He should get back up, no problem.
4th in the overall standings to start the stage. Should be able to get back into the cars here that follow the peloton. There's the peloton, strung out, not nearly as aggressive as yesterday. But Thibaut Pinot, with a teammate, should be able to make it back in. They're going along. There's a flat tire there on the side of the road. Handy little change here by Pinot himself to take that front wheel off, waiting for the team car.
Interesting to note, too, you see, because he's so highly placed overall, he had this flat tire right up at the front of the peloton where he would be marking Rui Costa in the yellow jersey and making sure he doesn't lose sight of him in any surprise move. There they are, back with the live pictures. He's being paced back at the convoy. All is well. Well, for the last couple of days, Peter Sagan may have been the sprint winner. He also won the opening time trial, you know. But the peloton are fighting back. Is this the day a breakaway will win a stage of the Tour de Suisse? And we won't be talking about this man, Peter Sagan. We'll find out. We're back with the action now. The clouds are getting a little bit higher in the sky here on this 5th day of racing in the Tour de Suisse. A breakaway of 7, still well clear of the field. They went at 5 miles in to the 120-mile race, and they are so far ahead, Bob, that I can't see them being brought back now.
Another sprint point, and then one last climb out on this circuit around the town of Gansingen in the foothills of the Jura Mountains before the finishing town and the peloton a long ways behind the breakaway. Almost impossible now with 27 kilometers to go to catch the men in front. Men in front should know that by now and start to make their tactics and their intentions clear. If you're going to be successful at the end of a breakaway, you have to understand that from the beginning and try to be as conservative as you can throughout the day's racing.
Now today, Bob, Andy Schleck has called a press conference in Luxembourg. He has announced his withdrawal from the Tour de France because of a sacral fracture of the pelvis, which happened in that time trial which you were commentating on in the Dauphiné. Apparently, the pain is intense because the fracture is right down near 2 major nerve centres, and that's what's causing the pain. He's heartbroken by the fact he can't ride the Tour.
Well, Andy Schleck using the Dauphiné to prepare the Tour de France. Andy Schleck has not had a standout season so far, but it hasn't been that bad. After the Dauphiné, he said he had 3 weeks of training to get ready for the Tour de France, but he was literally blown off his bicycle in the time trial, knocked down, apparently broken vertebrae, so a very painful injury and bitterly disappointing for Andy Schleck to have to announce his retirement before the Tour de France, before it's even started.
Now, I'm wondering, Bob, if this will leave the door open for the return of Chris Horner. You may recall yesterday he was left off the Tour pre-selection, and Johan Brunel has since said he left him off that list simply because he withdrew himself from the Tour de Suisse. And he says you must ride either the Dauphiné or the Tour de Suisse to ride into the selection for the Tour de France. Chris Horner himself has said he did withdraw himself from the Tour de Suisse. But it's not a case of his bad back being the reason. It is the fact he didn't ride a big build-up race. Now, do you think that's fair? Because Jens Voigt, for example, is on the pre-selection list, and he hasn't raced since the Tour of Luxembourg.
Let's see, the back behind-the-scenes intrigue continues to be a big factor of the Radio Shack story leading to the Tour de France. The team of 14 riders, including Fabian Cancellara, Hugh Fuglsang, Cloden, Frank Schleck, and Andy Schleck. Andy Schleck now is scratched. Yep. Chris Horner was left off the list. But when you look at the other riders in the team of 14, Chris Horner is most certainly as competent as any of them. He's not a neo-pro. He knows what he needs to do leading into the Tour de France. He had the same race program as last year, and he should be given the benefit of the doubt. He's home training, and he says he's feeling strong.
But the other angle, Bob, is that some of the teammates of the Radio Shack, like Andy Cloden, is saying, if you want to ride a big tour, and this is Andy Cloden on his Twitter, ride a big tour, then you also have to ride some races with the team. And for example, watch Team Sky or BMC. 3 weeks racing isn't a 1 week race. And Jens Voigt, of all people, he's replying to Cloden saying, you're absolutely right, and I don't understand why someone's doing his own thing alone in the United States instead of training and living in Europe. So they're feeling there's no team mix between Horner and the team.
Well, there's obviously a lot of discord within the ranks in the Radio Shack squad. That's been going on since Andy Schleck was unable to approximate the results you would expect from a man who was winning the Tour de France in 2010. But when you compare Chris to the other riders on the list, Tony Gallipan, Maxime Fort, Gregory Ross, Hayden Ralston, guys like Markel Irizar, Jaroslav Popovic. In my opinion, Chris is as competent as any of them.
All right, well, that story is set to run, and I don't know whether Johan Brunel can change his attitude now, having issued that press statement that says if you don't ride the 2 big tours in Build It, you can't be considered for his team in the Tour de France. More on that as the weeks unfold for the great race at the moment. That the miles are unfolding here for this breakaway of 7. Hardly any impression on the lead whatsoever. The peloton are on strike, and I think against Peter Sagan.
9:13 is a gap with 14 miles to go. These riders, virtually impossible to get caught. One thing that might catch them, however, could be a railroad crossing. If they mistime that.
Don't suggest that.
Might be the only way to catch this breakaway at the moment.
Well, it's 9:12 at the moment. Now, it hasn't been a wasted breakaway by any manner of means. The majority of these cyclists have not won races in recent times, and a chance for one of them to succeed today. Vladimir Ishichev is in this group for Katusha. He needs the top points on the last climb of the day. That will give him the lead. And there's an attack going immediately. That looks like it's Klaus Lodewijk who is attacking here for Team BMC. And this is what they've got to do now. They know this breakaway is not going to be caught, Bob, so the infighting has to begin.
Lodewijk striking out a long ways from the finish line, 13 miles to go in the bike race. If the others behind him can work together, very hard to stay away from 6 motivated men against 1. But maybe Lodewijk sensing his moment now. This might be the only chance he has. If he doesn't think he can beat Daniel Oss, for example, in the sprint. Daniel Oss, a very fast sprinter. He won the last stage of the U.S. Pro Cycling Challenge last August in Colorado. Very handy sprinter. 5th to get Wavelgun Daniel Oss in his career, and he was 9th this spring in Milano-San Remo. For every man in this break, the number 1 danger to losing is getting near the finish line with Daniel Oss. You have to continue to attack the man from the Liquigas Cannondale squad, and Oss is being left to do the chase right now, so the rider's playing very good tactics in the breakaway at the moment.
And big results, you know, because if Lodewijk can win this stage, that'll put him possibly on the list for Team BMC, because he hasn't won a bike race. He's one of the riders on Team BMC with just a lot of experience as a domestique. A big moment for him in this breakaway, because they all know now this is going to work. There's 1 or 2 big names here. Daniel Oss, normally the lead-out man for Peter Sagan in the breakaway here for Liquigas Cannondale. The great experienced man here is Karsten Kroon of Saxo Bank. He's in the blue jersey when you catch sight of him. And, of course, Ruben Perez. And Vladimir Ishichev, he's going to concentrate on winning this last King of the Mountains climb. If he gets that, he'll have a green jersey of leadership of mountains at the finishing line waiting for him. Sunday, June the 30th, will see the start of the world's most prestigious event, the Tour de France. You can watch it on the NBC Sports Network, with coverage beginning on June the 30th, the Tour de France. So, as we look across green fields, the rain is starting to abate a little bit at the moment. We've got Lodewijk, Klaus Lodewijk, in the lead. He's only 24 years of age. He turned pro back in 2008. He rides for Team BMC. He has finished the Giro d'Italia, Bob, but he's looking for his first win.
Most aggressive rider earlier this season in the Tour of Oman, one of the early season stage races, getting near the top of this last climb of the day, the Category 3 summit of Pas Hoa. Tough little climb here, and good handicap there on the other riders that were in the breakaway with him. But you can see 6 men chasing now, and 1 rider going off the front. Looks like Izaicha from the Katusha squad. A little bit of daylight. Daniel Oss did a big turn of work before this climb, and he could be excused for being a little bit tired. It looks like Vladimir Isaichev from Katusha now trying to close the gap
But
down.
he's got to, Bob, hasn't he? He's got to finish first over the top. He's got to catch this guy and get first over the top, because if he does, he will take the King of the Mountains lead by a single point. It's 5 for the top, and it's only 3 for second, so he would be 1 point behind Frank Schleck if he weren't to be first, but I think that's a done deal. He's gone straight past Lodvig here, and he will get the 5 points, which means of the 6 climbs today, he will have triumphed over the top first on 4 of them. So we've got one new leader today, so this breakaway has been far from a waste of time today, Bob.
With Isaichev, a good move here. Immediately distancing Klaus Lodvig. Lodvig, see if he can get on the back of the riders he was with throughout the day's proceedings. There's Isaichev. I'm not sure if he's not going for the stage win here. They might be thinking he's going for the King of the Mountain points, but if he presses on over the top of this climb, which why not, is a downhill descent before it flattens out for the finishing town of Gansingen, and only 10 miles left in the bike race now. Isaichev going deep now here for the King of the Mountain points, but if the riders don't chase and get organized behind him, he also has a chance for the stage, and it took a long time to catch Klaus Lodvig, who attacked just before that meant Isaichev.
Now, they've been over this climb twice already. This is the 3rd time they've climbed this mountain today. But this time they reach the finish, it will be the end. They've been through the finishing line twice on this circuit of some 25 miles. And I think you're right. I think Isaichev is trying to get away here from the field. Now, it's logical to do this, because if it comes to a sprint of 7, Daniel Oss, Liquigas Cannondale, the teammate of Peter Sagan, is undoubtedly the fastest finisher in this group.
Daniel Oss, a handy sprinter himself, does the lead-outs for Sagan. We can see Lodvig being dropped now. Went on a breakaway. They chased him, unable to maintain that tempo now. His eyes were bigger than his stomach, so Lodvig has now lost the group that he was just in, had attacked, and now they've gone straight past Lodvig, but they're still chasing Vladimir Isaichev, who's just in front of our now down to 5 men from the original 7 in the breakaway.
Well, these beautiful undulations here in the Jura Mountains, they're not as high, of course, as the Swiss Alps, as they've still got 2 kilometers or so to go over the top, because it'll be 9 miles. And there's the top up there, about 1 kilometer or so left to climb as he goes up towards the summit. And this is good tempo riding by the Katusha rider, Vladimir Isaichev, 26 years of age. Again, he's never won a bike race, but he's been a strong rider. He has ridden both the Tour of Spain and the Tour of Italy, and he's finished on both occasions, so he's a good team man. But today it's one of those rare occasions for him. He's free to race for himself.
Couple of 100 yards before the top of this last King of the Mountain sweeping descent, where the advantage should go to the man in the front. On a descent or a climb, the aerodynamic advantage not as emphatic as it is on the flats. So if he can get through the descent, he still has a handy little lead over the men chasing him. And why not put the hammer down, pedal to the metal, and try to survive all this? Oh, and here they are. They're just on the wheel now of Isaichev.
Yeah, and there is actually Ruben Perez is coming up behind him, but they're not racing. He's right up. He's almost allowed the Russian rider there, Isaichev, to go over first, because Ruben Perez has got no interest in the King of the Mountains. So he's the new leader, and that's the first time that's changed since Verbier on day 2, when Frank Schleck almost won the stage there, but did enough out in the mountains to get that situation, to get the green jersey. Right, and there's the counter-attacks coming now. Oss is the rider just passing on our right in the lime green here as he starts off. And in fact, Daniel Oss is on the Globe Ultra Athlete Profile. There's some more information on Daniel. He's a good lead-out man, 25 years of age, a tall rider for a sprinter at 6'2", and 19 minutes down in this race. He has been a stage winner last year in the USA Pro Cycling Challenge. Now, he sat at the back of this group, Bob. The tactics are quite straightforward by the other 5. They've got to get rid of Daniel Oss, otherwise he'll win.
Well, every team manager will know that Daniel Oss has a great sprinting pedigree, and he will instruct his riders to try to attack as soon as they can and dislodge
This
Daniel
is Perez
Oss.
going, Bob. And that's the start of the moves. Now they know what they've got to do here. The gap is down to 8.5 minutes. That's to be expected. 10 miles out from the finish. They're not going to bring back 8 minutes. Not going to ride the last 10 miles 8.5 minutes quicker than this breakaway, because as you can see, the topography is in the favor of the racers now. We're going downhill here, and Ruben Perez is starting a little move of his own for Euskadi.
First to attack Lodvig, and then Isaichev, and now it's Ruben Perez from the Euskaltel squad. All of them attacking, all of them going solo. Maybe it's better to isolate Daniel Oss and get a couple of guys up the road. But Daniel Oss is doing all of these chases now. He's did the brunt of the work to counter the moves, and that's his obligation as the fastest man in this breakaway. Carson Crew, maybe the most decorated man in the break. He's sitting on the back there, using good tactics. He is a stage winner of the Tour de France. Also a very tough race in Germany. He's won twice in his career. Grand Prix Frankfurt, the Henniger term it's called. But Ruben Perez on this descent, a little bit of a gap over the chasers.
Nice little gap here. Now, Perez hasn't won a race for 2 years, almost to the day. His last victory was in the Bayern-Rundfahrt in Germany, which was the opening day back in May 2010. Now's a good time to start winning again. Tomorrow, the Epic Cycle Series, presented by Michelob Ultra, continues with Stage 6 of the Tour de Suisse. 4 climbs on the road to Bishop Zell, and that's tomorrow at 5 Eastern on the NBC Sports Network. Well, the breakaway has now fallen out with itself, having been together since the 5th mile of this race. We still have Ruben Perez out front. This is the red Katusha jersey of Vladimir Ishatev, who is now the new leader in this race. He'll be wearing green tomorrow in the King of the Mountains lead as we go into the second half of this race. That's where we are, Bob. All the challenges are behind. We've just got the run towards the finish now.
8 miles to go. Zaitsev now is going to make contact with Ruben Perez. He's the man in orange at the top of your screen. But Carson Kroon chasing. Third wheel there in the second group is Daniel Oss. Salvatore Puccio. Now we're all back together. The riders attacking Daniel Oss. They need to separate themselves from the fast sprinter on the Luca Gascanadel squad. He's the Italian in the green and blue, fastest man in the group. But Daniel Oss has been very aggressive. He's chased down a number of these breakaways, but you get the sense that he's a little bit isolated. So far, 3 out of the 7 have taken a chance to attack Daniel Oss.
Well, there is Daniel Oss, his stage win last year in the USA Pro Cycling Challenge, got him a ride in the World Championships. He is a very fast finisher. Normally, though, he's the lead-out man for Peter Sagan or another of his teammates, Elia Viviani. They're both in this race, by the way. I think it's a great tactic by Luca Gascanadel. He's almost been apologetic in the breakaway, leaving behind Peter Sagan, but he knows if he comes down to the finish, he's got to get the win for the team.
Well, that would be pretty exceptional if they continued to dominate the stage ones with a different rider. Peter Sagan, the fastest man in this bike race, but Daniel Oss also very quick. And in this breakaway, he's the most dangerous man if they come down to the last kilometer together. Maybe the most clever is the man in blue in the dark shorts. That's Carson Kroon. And he's the veteran of this little breakaway group. Sebastian Minard, interestingly, the only man in the break to start the KOM competition with any points, but he hasn't gone for them. Maybe he's saving himself for the stage win.
Now, you notice there that Perez was almost caught back. That's a brilliant tactic by Perez. He's put his head down and he's gone again here. And you may also have noticed that Daniel Oss started shouting at the other riders to start the chase. Well, why would you want to start the chase if you're going to take Oss into a winning position? So Perez could take advantage of this. It's not a big lead, but remember, these riders have been out in front for the whole day of racing. And they've had at some stage nearly a quarter of an hour's lead over the chase. So they've got to be tired now. These little breakaways, any one of them could result in a win today.
Well, if you thought that cycling was a fair sport, you would be wrong if you were a fan of Daniel Oss. The rider's not cooperating with Daniel Oss at all, but he's the fastest man in the group, obviously, like head and shoulders above the others in the sprints. So you cannot let him get near the finish line, near the front of the race. Ruben Perez is off the front there just a little bit, putting pressure on the breakaway. He's not out of sight yet. Zaitsev just looking up the road and calculating how much effort he needs to get across to that. Daniel Oss has done the done the work to cover all of these breakaways twice to Ruben Perez, also to Zaitsev himself, and the man dropped Klaus Lodovic. It was that man in green that chased him down as well. So how much endurance does Daniel Oss have left in the last 7 miles of this bike race to keep countering all these attacks that are being thrown at him from everybody else in the breakaway group?
Riding the white here is Sebastian Minard of Team AG2R. The rider in the blue could be a big danger. That's the Saxo Banks Carsten Kroon, the Dutchman on that Danish setup. And I have to say that Team Sky have found a good rider here in the youngster Salvatore Puccio, who's riding for the first-year pro for them. He's clearly a man that they spotted in his last years as an amateur rider, and he's looking very strong in this breakaway. 8:53, the breakaway is not going to recover this. These boys will gain time overall, but it won't be enough because most of them are a long, long way back, well into double figures, and that is why there's no reaction coming from the team of Rui Costa, the overall leader. Why must he chase these riders when they're so far behind him already? It's even gone up by a second, Bob. They're actually going away again.
In fact, Salvatore Puccio is the man closest to the yellow jersey of race leader, but 13+ minutes behind. Winner of the under-23 Tour of Flanders in his amateur career. That's the Sky Rider. What an incredible season Sky has had so far this year.
Yes, they have, and they're going to be the team to beat now with the sad withdrawal. If you're only just joining us, Andy Schleck announcing today he cannot ride the Tour de France because of an injury to his pelvis after his crash in the Dauphiné. And that is a great sadness for everybody concerned, and not least Andy Schleck. Well, we're in the streets of the outskirts of the finishing town of Gansingen here at the moment, and still Perez is leading the charge down these narrow roads through what is beautiful countryside and lovely Swiss towns.
The group chasing still working together, still towing Daniel Oss closer and closer to the finish line. They're going to catch Perez just now. The 6 men, they've left Klaus Lodevick behind. He's in no man's land between this breakaway and the peloton. Ruben Perez back in the fold, but as Daniel Oss has done most of the chasing, and that's the way the other riders in the breakaway have to make it transpire if they're going to have a chance to beat him at any point in this bike race. He can't get much closer to the finish line in the company of Daniel Oss, or they will certainly all lose in the sprint.
Well, Perez has gone to the back there, and he's quickly taking a small stack as we look now. That looks to me as though Oss himself, now that is surprising. Daniel Oss has gone, and quickly on his wheel is the danger man of this breakaway. That is Carsten Kroon, who's jumped onto the back wheel of Oss. Sebastian Minard has quickly rallied up the chase and is coming back. And Perez quickly got rid of that little snack he was having and got down to business on the back. Interested to move that, Bob.
Well, this is the only thing that he can do. He has to get rid of the other riders in the breakaway. They will not let that happen. They're going to work against him throughout the finale of the bike race. That's the only chance that Daniel Haas has to win the stage, is to get rid of the men that are with him now.
Yeah, but look, he's falling back, and it's Carsten Kroon, who I see as the real danger in this breakaway. Carsten Kroon, the most experienced man in this front group, as he has looked over. Minard has done well because he spotted it. Kroon spotted he's come up, so he stopped wasting his effort. And he's given a chance. Now Puccio is going. This is a good breakaway now. They all have realised their chance, and they all know they've got to get rid of the man in the lime green.
The gloves are off and the knives are out. Puccio on the attack with Izaichev. Let's see if Oss has any energy left to chase down this breakaway. Each time that Oss chases, the others sit on his wheel, and then they counterattack the chasing by Daniel Oss. Izaichev now a little bit of an advantage over Puccio there at the moment.
Well, Carsten Kroon has gone to the back of the line now. We're 2 by 2 here, rather like Noah's Ark as they start to go now. 9:16 the gap. It's still anybody's race amongst the 6 leaders of the original 7, as they now once again have come back together, more or less 5 miles out from the finish. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll take them to the finish. Pick yourself a winner, 1 of 6. See you shortly. Well, the question remains, which one of these 6 is going to win, because they are way ahead of the field now, almost 10 minutes at just on 4 miles from the finish, and they still haven't got rid of the sprinter. That is Daniel Oss. But anybody has got to put in a surprise attack and try and go. And guess what, Bob? The sun has come out in Switzerland. Make note of that.
The sun has come out for the first time on today's stage, just inside of the finish. 4 miles to go. Daniel Oss has been very courageous, very tenacious, chasing down all the men that have been attacking him. That's to be expected. He's the fastest man in this breakaway group. They have to get rid of him. They can't get within a few hundred meters of the finish and expect to beat Daniel Oss.
Just take a look at this. We could be riding one of those indoor velodromes now, because they're all watching each other, waiting for somebody to make a move. They all know that the advantage of surprise has got to be kept on their side. Oss is just riding dead centre of this group of 6 and watching anybody who comes by him. And despite this cat and mouse, Bob, note the clock. It's now gone outside 10 minutes, so the peloton have shut down as well. And somebody like Ruben Perez, who is 18 minutes down overnight, is pulling back 10 minutes of his deficit here.
Watch Minard going up the road there, chased by Izaichev. Daniel Oss tacking himself onto the back. That's where he wants to continue to rotate, try not to come through the line. And who knows, in the last 3 miles, after a long, hard breakaway in the rain, in the hills, you could be excused for having a little bit of delirium. You might forget that Daniel Oss is there. But the challenge is to get rid of Daniel Oss, the man in green, and see if anybody can do that. But so far, everyone's chasing each other and bringing Oss constantly back into the frame now. 5 kilometers to the finish before 3 miles to go.
3 miles to go, and Minard is testing them on the right. They've just gone another 4 kilometers, so it's less than it's saying on the screen here just now. As it's Puccio who's gone to the front now for Team Sky. Oss is trying to keep a monitor on everyone without actually doing any of the pacemaking. He's now moved up to second wheel behind the rider in black. They're gone across to Minard's wheel now to keep an eye on him. He's got them all in his tunnel vision. Now he's gone across to Karsten Kroon. He's dodging all over the place here. The last place he wants to be, of course, is the first man in the line. Now the finish, Bob, these are brilliant roads for a late attack because they're so narrow and they twist. The finish is a little bit tortuous again and also slightly uphill.
They've seen it twice. A little bit of an uphill drag to the finish line that should give somebody with a little bit powerful climbing legs a bit of an advantage. Zaitsev has gotten the King of the Mountains jersey, but I think the advantage goes to that man in the white and brown, Sebastian Minard. He's played his cards perfectly so far in this stage.
Well, Salvatore Puccio there tried to just treacle off the front and ignore everybody, but they spotted it. Karsten Kroon took it up, and again the lime green colours of Daniel Oss jumped onto Karsten Kroon. As they now all take the roads to the right. Sebastian Minard has taken the road to the left here, just checking if there's a gap. Is it worth it? Yes, it is. He's kicked. And now the reaction is having to come from the other riders at the back of the race. And again, stepping up the pace, it's Daniel Oss.
Daniel Oss closing down to Ruben Perez, who is trying to get back on the wheel of Zaitsev. Zaitsev has put his head down. He's not worried about anybody coming up and helping him chase down that man, Sebastian Minard. That might spell doom for Minard. What will happen now is people, they have been already watching each other and waiting, but it seems like every guy in this group has the same strength. Nobody's demonstrated a clear advantage strength-wise. It's anybody's ball game at this point in the men in the front. Daniel Oss, he just needs a couple more kilometers with these guys, another mile or so when things stay together, and he could launch his sprint from a long ways out and still win the stage.
Now it looks as though we have another factor here, because take a look at that sky. It is jet black. It's sunny where we are, but we could be racing into the eye of a storm here, and it could hit them before the finishing line. Now it's worth noting the only man not to attack this group so far is on the far right in that lime green, Daniel Oss. He's letting them all have their fun, and so far he hasn't missed a move, because he knows if it's a sprint finish, he'll win.
Ruben Perez, last man. That way he can keep an eye on the other riders in the breakaway. This is incredible. They're going less than 20 kilometers an hour at this point.
But they're still pulling away from the peloton. It's 10 minutes 23 now. Despite this speed, the peloton are still losing ground. And that's Minard just testing again. Little rise. Good chance to see if everybody's paying attention. Paying attention. Boy, they're all in the best seats here.
Big game of poker being played right now. Who's going to show their hands? Who has the strength left? This has a couple of effects. If you've been tired throughout the day, you can recuperate a little bit and unleash your sprint, or your legs could lock up because you haven't put in an effort for a number of kilometers.
Well, 3 kilometers to go, and I have to say it's a long time, Bob, since we've commentated on 6 riders doing this sort of an approach to the finishing line, knowing that the rest of the race for the day is out of it. 10 minutes 31 seconds. We're almost stopped, and we're still gaining time on the field here.
And let's not forget about Klaus Lodovic. He was dropped. He might be able to catch back up to the men that were just with him. Salvatore Puccio, they've been going so slow for so long. He's looking over his shoulder to see if anybody's coming up from behind.
Well, that's Minard who's decided to liven proceedings up. He started the game. Oss is right on him, followed by Karsten Kroon. They are the 2 danger men for me. Kroon in the blue and the lime colours there of Daniel Oss. The rest are just trying to take their moment if it presents itself. We're still at 3 kilometers to go, but must be very, very close to 2, and he's gone again. Well, that's a good move. He's taken the inside of the car, and this one's serious. The gears have gone up, and Minard, this is his move, Bob.
This is Minard's move. 2 kilometers, just over a mile. Ruben Perez has taken up the chase, but Minard put in the move at the right time. Nobody chased him. He has a great chance to win this stage. Now, finally, the deadlock has been broken by Sebastian Minard from the AG2R squad. Successful in his career. He won Paris-Camembert just a couple of years ago, and now he has clear daylight. There's one job for Minard, and that's put his head down and go as hard as he can. Forget about the gamesmanship and the playing around. Now it's time for the all-out dash to the finish to begin for Minard.
Well, these riders remember the Tour de France is literally around the corner. These teams have not yet named their full 9 riders, so there's a chance they could be promoted to the Tour team. With a good performance today, and the manager will be watching this with interest. You mentioned Minard's winning Paris-Camembert, Bob. That was back in 2010. In fact, the only race he's ever won. He's back here now, though, and he's behind Perez, and in front is Os. Os is trying to now stamp his authority on these breakaways and cool them down.
Well, it's a lot easier to beat 2 guys for Daniel Os than it is to beat 5 guys. Taking that attack by Minard and going across with Perez. 1 kilometer to go. See if these riders work together. It's a little bit of a dangerous situation if you're Perez or Minard to work with Daniel Os. Daniel Os hesitating now. He's going to need some cooperation, or the 3 men will catch up from behind.
Well, interestingly, too, Os has been on the front of that chasing group of 3 because he's halved his problems now. He's got 3 riders away, including Carsten Kroon behind him in the blue. So inside 1 kilometer to go. Perez wants them to go, but, you know, there's not going to be a big effort coming out of Daniel Os because he'll wait for the sprint.
Daniel Os just needs to hang on here with the lead group here for a few more 100 meters. I wouldn't necessarily lead it out. Somebody could come around, but for Daniel Os now, a good chance to win.
They are coming up because if they're going to mess around like this, the other 3 are going to come back in contention. The finish is just down the road around the corner, and Minard now is smelling he may have another chance at a win here. Os is getting a little bit nervous and tense. He knows he's got the best sprinter's legs, but are they going to allow him to use those legs? Because he's on the front when he should be on the back, and they're all together. 6 to go.
Salvatore Puccio brought up the other 2, Carsten Kroon and Zaitsev. 5 men, 6 now, and it's anybody's guess who could win. Daniel Os, a man in the front, generally considered the fastest sprinter. It's a long ways to lead it out from here, though, for anybody.
He is in totally the wrong place. He should be in 3rd or 4th wheel, and the attack is on for the line. And it is Ishichev who was at the back and off it, has gone to the front, and he's never won a race. It looks like changing now. Perez is chasing him to the line, followed by Carsten Kroon. This isn't really a sprint, is it? Because they can't get past each other at all. Ishichev has got his first ever victory as a pro, his 2nd year with the Russian Katusha squad. What a day out he has had, because he's also got the lead now in the King of the Mountains as well.
Zaitsev gambling that Carsten Kroon and Puccio would chase down the breakaway with Os when the group split. In the final kilometer, he sat on the wheels. He was the man with the most left at the finish. Started celebrating maybe a little bit too early, and it was Ruben Perez that nearly got around him, but a win is a win. Zaitsev, maybe the least fancied from that breakaway, comes up with the goods.
And what a mess by Daniel Os. He made the commentators look terrible, I have to say, because he's last of the 6 riders coming in when he should have been first. But that's a great victory here by Vladimir Ishichev, who gets the win, his first of his career. And now he's got rid of that duck. He's been a pro. He's only 26 years of age. He's been a pro for about 4 years, though, and 2 years with Katusha. Well, we can show you, I think, as we rise off into the distance. This is the stage so far. The peloton hasn't come in yet, by the way. Ishichev wins, Perez, Puccio, Carsten Kroon and Sebastian Minard. Now, I believe that Klaus Lodevock is still ahead of the field. Oh, he's come in there in 7th place. So, as we see a very happy Russian here on Team Katusha. I wonder if we'll see him in the Tour de France on that squad. Even the devil has congratulated him. We'll take a break, and then, with a bit of luck, we'll see the arrival of the peloton. Well, the peloton are on the horizon now. The 6 riders are almost in the showers here, but here they come. Nearly 5 hours in the saddle, and the clock is still counting, Bob. At 500 meters to go, they haven't improved an inch.
Sprinter from the Cannondale Liquigas squad, that's Elia Viviani. Very fast man, been involved in the lead-outs of Peter Sagan so far in the Tour of Switzerland. Pretty handy sprinter himself, twice a winner in stages in the USA Pro Cycling Challenge last summer in Colorado. He's 3rd wheel now, but Vacansoleil doing the lead out for their man, and he makes the tank. That's Boykmans going up the road there, Viviani on his wheel.
Well, Viviani will take what points there are remaining if he can get round Boykmans for the sprint, because he's on the same team as Peter Sagan. So a little bit of sprint practice. He may pass this on to Daniel Oss, who finished last at the 6. And Oss often leads this man out, Viviani. And they've come in 11 minutes and 7 seconds behind today. So it's a big leg up the overall for those riders in the breakaway, but they still come nowhere near the overall lead, which is still held tonight by Rui Costa from Portugal. There's another view of the sprint with Viviani. He is a very good sprinter and rode the World Championships for Italy last year. So the peloton are in. The order over the line was Viviani and Boykmans, 1-2 there. And the first win of 2012, or indeed any year for Vladimir Isaichev, because that's nice to get a pro win under your belt. Now he can really settle down as a pro.
Bouquet for Isaichev. Long day, nerve-wracking finale. He played it just right. There's a wedge of cheese. That'll be nice for his teammates on the dinner table tonight.
Nice piece of Swiss cheese there for the Russian rider on Katusha. As he waves to the crowd here, delighted with his victory. He is, of course, our road ID of Ride of the Day, Bob.
Here's the sprint. Daniel Oss should be the favorite, but he did so much work in the closing kilometers. He could not match this acceleration by Vladimir Isaichev. Big stage win for Katusha.
Road ID Ride of the Day, and he gets the win. Overall, no change at all. It's been like this since Verbier, actually, on day 2. Costa leads at 8 seconds over Frank Schleck. Lost his lead today in the mountains competition. Kreuziger, former winner, is in 3rd. No change right down to the top 10. These riders poised for a tough weekend ahead, which will begin with the time trial on Friday and 2 really hard mountain stages on Saturday and Sunday. Leipheimer won this race last year. He's still nicely placed to try and win it again as the weekend approaches. These are the American places here. And, of course, Peter Sagan at the bottom, still tucked in way down overall for the race on time with the leader on points. And there's the leader of the race.
Movistar has done a great job shepherding this man through the hills of Switzerland, but the mountains this weekend loom on the horizon for Rui Costa. His next rendezvous with Destiny is Friday, and that's the individual time trial. See if he can hold that leader's jersey tomorrow. Should be a formality if Movistar does their job, which they have done throughout the week's racing.
Well, you can't feel safe. This is the mountains classification now. There's a change. 1 point lead now for Isaichev. Crucially won the last mountain of the day. Otherwise, he would have been 2nd to Frank Schleck. And there he is in his green jersey. A memorable day in the life of the Russian cyclist here today, 26 years of age. He won the stage. Claimed the leader's jersey in the King of the Mountains. That was a perfect day out for him and a long, hard way to do it as well. Remember, the Tour de Suisse continues tomorrow, regular time, 5 p.m. Eastern time. More undulations on the Tour de Suisse tomorrow, and the peloton today fell foul to a great attack by 7 riders. And don't forget, the Tour de France will be on your screens from June the 30th as we start coverage of that great event. For all details, go to NBCsports.com. For Bob Roll, I'm Phil Liggett saying we'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.